This is chapter 2 of Casino Royale. In this chapter I chose to paint M, the leader of the British Secret Service, the MI6. He's known just by the letter M. The story goes back in time in this chapter. It explains how and why the British Secret Service decided to move against Le Chiffre. I drew M in his desk reading the report about him. About Le Chiffre, I mean. The report the MI6 has explains all they know about the villain, his backstory, how he showed up in Western Europe after the war, how he went into the communist syndicate in Alsace, France, and how he is currently in a lot of financial trouble, which is why he's doing the high-stakes card game, to pay all he owes to the Russians. He's a Russian agent trying to influence the French government with the whole communist thing. That's the fastest way I can put it. So the British Secret Service approves the idea of sending their best card player agent for the mission, which is of course Bond. James Bond. So I chose to paint M reading this report. This was challenging in a good way because I don't normally draw or paint modern things. I usually stick to fantasy, or I did in the past, not anymore. This is an opportunity for growth and improvement. This painting is done on mixed media paper using Tempera paints. I went with wooden panels and a wooden desk. I was just going for a classical British look. I don't know if that is the proper name for an office like this. In the desk I added the 3 different phones that M is supposed to have. I don't think they mention it in this book, but I added them anyways. It's in the Moonraker book where they do specify that he has 3 different colored phones that all go different places. Like one is for external calls, the other one for the Prime Minister, and I can't remember the other one, but it's probably for internal calls between the service, I would guess. And it's also on the book From Russia with Love, where it's specified that M is an older gentleman. If you've read the books, it's interesting how the author goes so into details for certain characters, but for others there's not much said. So M is one of those, at least until where I've read at the moment. I am currently reading the book James Bond vs. Dr. No. So I've been trying to take bits and pieces from the different novels to get the description of the characters. I try to get the best descriptions possible, but it bothers me when sometimes in a book series, in the first books, there's something that's omitted, like characters' eye color, for example. But then in book 4 or so, you learn the eyes are actually green or something. It just bothers me when I illustrate it because I just want to paint the most accurate as possible. It's probably not that important in the end, though. I just know that once I finish the illustration for the chapter, I'm not going back to paint over any mistake in the description. That is why I find it a bit bothersome. Anyway, it is what it is. For this painting I also tried adding more line work using the Tempera paint. Very similar to how I did my previous Musketeer illustration. I think it's a nice look. A lot of the lines I drew for the background I ended up erasing. I decided to do the usual vignette around the character since it's the most important part of the painting. But maybe I should have tried more with the wooden panels in the back. It's kind of just a brown background, but it's supposed to read as wood. I also added part of the frame that hangs behind him. And I used watercolor pencils for some details and lines. Mostly lines, and texture behind the character. I also like to use them to give some redder tones to the skin tones. I find it's faster and more convenient than trying to mix the perfect color with the tempera and apply it on the skin tones. Especially for an illustration this size, the color pencil tip is very convenient. Not one of my favorite illustrations, but it's done. I prefer the previous one, so hopefully on the next one I can do better, I guess it's the word. I don't know, as long as I'm learning, it's a win for me, I guess.